Welcome. My name is Sarah Kurker, and I am a faculty instructor at Arizona State University. I have been with the school for 16 years, and I teach classes in Masters of Social Work, undergraduate social work, and also the Integrative Health Initiative. I was fortunate to teach in person for 10 years, and then I transferred over to the online program 6 years ago. I like to integrate my clinical experience, which is in oncology social work, prior to coming to the university. And I like to share those experiences with my students in hopes to inspire them to think about how they can be the best they can be in their social work practice. I am honored to do this ASU TED Talk to honor the 60th anniversary of our program, and I'm also a proud graduate of the ASU program. I want to start by sharing just some experiences that I've had as a clinical social worker and tie them into the work that I do here at the school. First, I want to share that I try to uphold the NASW Code of Ethics, and one that's really important to me is a commitment to clients. How that developed for me began as a student in my MSW program, and I sort of started identifying unmet client needs. So for me, the commitment to clients is really just seeing what services we have and then fulfilling those unmet needs. When I was a student, I had my internship at the Arizona Cancer Center, and I was working with adults with cancer. I had a clinical oncology training through the American Cancer Society, and a theme that I always saw was I had a lot of young parents diagnosed with cancer who were coming to me for support on how to parent their children through cancer. And it just was one patient after another, and I felt like they weren't getting the needs met at our cancer center. So what I did is created a group for these young adults, and we met as an entire family. I had the parents together, the kids in separate age groups. I trained the radiation therapist to help me with the group because I had so many sections. But we met an unmet need of our young adults who are parenting kids through cancer. After I graduated from ASU, I became the pediatric bone marrow transplant social worker, and I saw a lot of needs there that were unmet. One was the parents of the kids going through transplant were having a really hard time. So I created and facilitated a group for parents going through, watching their child go through this bone marrow transplant process. I want to reflect that in meeting the needs, unmet needs of my patients, I become a stronger social worker because I learn from them in this group setting. I then transferred to Mass General Hospital in Boston, and there the support of social work was so immense in terms of they had social workers for every cancer, and they had teams, and it was just so profound of what they provided compared to the support in Arizona. But that being said, they hadn't had a support group for young adults. So I decided to take that on because I had a lot of young adults in my colorectal group. So I did a young adult closed support group for our patients because it was an unmet need. And then when I transitioned to teach at ASU, I was asked to create a group and facilitate a group for young adults with cancer. And I feel like there was no support group here in Tucson for these patients, and I wanted to develop and create it. Just in general, facilitating a group, it's always important to adapt to what your clients need. For example, we couldn't facilitate the group at the hospital because it was triggering the young adults coming back to the hospitals. The smells, the sounds was triggering, so we moved it to the Ronald McDonald house. And we decided to have a meal together and then do the group, and it just sort of added a different unmet need. Socializing, things that they needed in the group. Another thing that I did was add Zoom about 3 years ago. So when my patients were too immune suppressed to attend group or they were in the hospital, they could Zoom in and still have that connection to the group. So addressing in this group, we meet twice a month, and we also address things about what it's like for someone to have a chronic illness. What is it like to deal with the emotional trauma of cancer? And I also address socioeconomic considerations. A lot of them can't afford to drive to come to the group, so I get funding for that. So just sort of always being aware and listening to what your clients need and meeting the unmet needs, and that is my commitment to clients. What I want to share about creating a support group specifically for unmet needs is building a community. So these young adults felt very misplaced because they were either being treated in the pediatric unit with kids under 10, or they were being treated in the adult oncology and people were over 60 to 80. So they really didn't have a place or a community. So what I did is connect these young adults so that they have a space to share their experience. And I wanted to facilitate the group, but also have them build a community. So one way that I did that is I have a closed Facebook page that's just for our participants, those who have stopped coming to group or those who currently go. And I put in information about national conferences, financial support for young adults. I do quotes with images to help support them through what they're going through. So it's nice for them to have that connection outside of our support group. And again, as I mentioned, I did add Zoom 3 years ago, just so that someone who maybe got a relapse of cancer and they were continually coming to group, they could still connect and find that support. I want to share about the connection to the grand challenges for social work. And I specifically picked 2 topics. One about individual and family well-being. They both are under that head topic. And what I want to talk about is ensuring healthy development for youth. I think that my support group definitely addresses that because the emotional trauma that these young adults go through, they can't deal with it when they're physically going through their treatment. That's what they've told me. That's what I hear session after session. So these feelings come up after they're cured of cancer and they go on to their normal new life. These emotional traumas are being addressed. I noticed that a lot of the young adults that come to my support group regularly are 5 years out of treatment, and they're still coming to a cancer support group. So that, in fact, says a lot to me about the support that they need. Another thing I like to address is post-traumatic growth. And with that, what's changed in their life positively from going through the cancer. And they talk about this a lot. And one of the main things is them committing to the young adult group because a new person comes who's just diagnosed and they share their story to help another one. And that's really fascinating to me. I think coming to group and being validated about what they experienced and the connection they have with these young adults is profound. It's something that I can't provide as an individual social worker. Another part of the grand social work needs is advancing long and productive life. Research says, attending a support group, being an active member decreases isolation. It gives them a connection of support in the group as well as outside. They can text their certain members outside of group. They can come to the Facebook page and ask questions. It's enabling them to express what's going on in their life and have them move on into their new life. So I feel like by providing this group, by them knowing there's a space that they can come to, is advancing and producing their lives. Something in general is just being adaptive to the group, flexible. Obviously, in the past years when COVID has hit our group, we moved to full-time Zoom. I listened to what they had to say. During COVID, they were definitely feeling more isolated. We added some mini sessions where I would provide yoga, meditation, just little shorter support groups through COVID, so they had that connection and they were not isolated. Also, collaborating, me personally as a clinical social worker with national leaders in Boston. I attended conferences at MD Anderson. That was really helpful. What was amazing to me is that because of my social work education at ASU, I knew the importance of research and evaluation. So from day one, I have them fill out a pre-group evaluation and a post. And I'm proud to say that I published a book for young adults in cancer for any clinician, student across the field in oncology, how to create a young adult support group. And I'm proud because their input on those evaluations are the foundation of my book. And I think that it helps, it would have helped me as a student to have a book to sort of be able to reference. I created it because it was an unmet need of my social work students, how to create a support group for young adults with cancer. I address things like the trauma they've gone through, what we do in each session, sort of their emotions, going back to normal life, dealing with the triggers that come up. And this photo, I do send photos on my closed Facebook page to the young adults with quotes for inspiration. I think it's a good way to let them know I care and support them. And this in particular is an image that sort of represents to me, it has like the new blooms on the cactus, and it also has the old blooms, sort of the trauma that they've gone through and the emotion that they go through. And then in general, this group really represents implications of solutions for populations in the Southwest, because there was not a young adult support group for cancer in the Southwest. I created it, I facilitated it, and I let the young adults become an active member in the way that this group develops. I just want to share some profound things that have happened. They happen every time, multiple times in group, but a few that I just want to share. I have a lot of young adults that their parents or their moms make them go to group, and when they first come in, they're sort of angry and embarrassed that, you know, their mom's making them go. And I remember one young adult, he's like, at the end, he's like, "Don't tell my mom, but I really like this group." And, you know, just sort of made me laugh that they liked going. Also, over COVID, I had a new young adult who had never met me, who had never met anyone in the group, join our group for one session over Zoom. And obviously there's some connection issues over Zoom in terms of making that rapport. But this person had had a lot of trauma pre-cancer. And she said that she's always been advised to see a counselor, and she's never done it. And coming to one group with us, she made an appointment for individual counseling. That's pretty profound. She was ready. Another thing that we talk about in group is post-traumatic growth. What has come out of this? A lot of my young adults have changed their career visions. Many of them are looking to be in the medical field. I even have someone who got their master's in social work because of their experience and because of their experience in group. And again, to me, it's always amazing that like someone will just be diagnosed and I know they want to talk about what's going on for them. But if they have someone that's new in the group, they'll put their issue aside to support someone else. And then just in general, I get a lot of different ethnic backgrounds, socioeconomic differences of the people that attend, but they always make a connection despite these differences. And that's also fascinating to me. So, writing this book, doing the clinical work that I do, I think that it really benefits my students because I am able to talk about the clinical work that I do. And I hope that my work in facilitating this group, in writing my book, in being active in professional conferences, sharing my ideas, that I inspire students to think about the unmet needs of their clients and the unmet needs in the agencies they work for, and find those missing supports and create them based in research, based in evidence. Because you can make such a difference. One person can make such a difference in the community, in our areas of what we're doing. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you listening.